Scottsdale Historical Society, 2014 Scottsdale History Hall of Fame honoree. The Little Red Schoolhouse on Main Street contains the precious memories and memorabilia of Scottsdale. It is also home to the Scottsdale Historical Society, which rallied to save the schoolhouse from certain destruction. Over the past 46 years, the volunteer members of the Scottsdale Historical Society have preserved, promoted, and celebrated our community history. Thanks to their dedication and foresight, we've learned about our founders, forebears, and the foundation upon which Scottsdale continues to build and thrive. In the mid-1960s, residents of Scottsdale participated in the Scottsdale Town Enrichment Program, discussing what kinds of civic infrastructure were needed for the growing community. One of the top priorities was to create a civic center in the downtown area. When the plans for such a center were revealed in 1968, old-timers were shocked to learn that their beloved but dilapidated 1909 vintage schoolhouse would be demolished as part of an urban renewal project. Former Mayor Mort Kimsey and Clara Beaucamp, who had lived most of their lives in Scottsdale, organized a petition drive to save the Little Red Schoolhouse. Longtime residents, many of whom had attended grammar school in the historic red brick building, launched a campaign to get the city to reconsider tearing down the building the city had owned since 1955. They officially organized as the Scottsdale Historical Society. Old-timers weren't the only ones interested in preserving a part of Scottsdale history. The Scottsdale High School Key Club and the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce partnered with the newly formed Historical Society and in November 1968 presented petitions containing 3,000 signatures to the Scottsdale City Council. After nearly 3 years of negotiations and galvanizing public support, the Scottsdale Historical Society prevailed and the Little Red Schoolhouse was saved. Together, the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce and the Scottsdale Historical Society raised $60,000 to make the building habitable, and in February 1973, the Scottsdale Chamber moved into the schoolhouse. During their campaign to save the schoolhouse, the Scottsdale Historical Society, led by its first president, Mort Kimsey, realized that the new group had many other opportunities to commemorate Scottsdale history. They began collecting old photographs, documents, and memorabilia, and created a display area in the Chamber of Commerce schoolhouse headquarters. The all-volunteer society invited the public to monthly meetings in the basement of the schoolhouse, or City Hall Kiva, to learn more about Scottsdale and Arizona history. In 1970, the City Council formally appointed the Scottsdale Historical Society as the official historical society of Scottsdale. During its first 15 years, the Scottsdale Historical Society used borrowed space and people's homes or businesses in which to meet and store their growing archive. In the 1980s, they began to occupy a series of spaces where they could catalog their materials and exhibit displays to the public. They moved from McCormick Ranch to Loloma School to the Civic Center Library and the Scottsdale Financial Center. When the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce moved out of the Little Red Schoolhouse into larger quarters, the Scottsdale Historical Society asked the city if it could finally move into the building it had saved. The answer was yes, and in the fall of 1991, the Scottsdale Historical Museum celebrated its long-awaited grand opening. For nearly 5 decades, hundreds of volunteers and docents have shared Scottsdale history with residents, visitors, students, genealogists, authors, even Steven Spielberg's people in Hollywood. One of the Society's most tenured members, Joanne Handley, has served as the volunteer museum director for over 15 years. She and members of the Society have organized museum exhibits that have showcased spring training history, our water heritage, the evolution of Scottsdale tourism and resorts, the history of technology, and other aspects of our past. Joanne estimates between 25 and 28,000 people visit the museum during the 10 months it is open every year. She also handles 25 to 30 requests for information from the archives every week. Scottsdale Historical Society volunteers donate over 20,000 hours a year to raise awareness about Scottsdale's legends, lore, and fascinating people. In addition to staffing the museum, they sponsor home tours, give walking tours, host fashion shows and picnics. Docents have conducted oral history interviews, cataloged thousands of documents and artifacts, and given talks at schools and to civic groups. They've helped plan Scottsdale's major anniversaries and were strong advocates for a city historic preservation program, which was adopted by the City Council in 1997. The Society is self-sustaining, raising its own funds for operation of its museum, archives, and programs. It does benefit from partnerships with groups such as the Hohokam Questers and the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce, and works with the Scottsdale Public Library System to place over 500 of the Society's historic photographs on the library's website. Thanks to a feisty group of longtime residents who wouldn't take no for an answer, Scottsdale has preserved its most beloved building and a treasure trove of memories. The all-volunteer Scottsdale Historical Society has served as the heart and soul of our community history since 1968. In his will, Scottsdale's founder, Winfield Scott, said, "I leave you to my work in Scottsdale." The Scottsdale Historical Society has taken this charge to heart through its work to preserve, promote, and inspire this and future generations with examples of Scottsdale's rich heritage.